Hello and welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. I am so grateful to have you here. My name is Lizzie, and for this video the theme is pink, but the techniques I use you can use for other DIYs that aren't pink. For the first project, I used the vinyl paper from the Dollar Tree, pink and white, and I also used that tissue paper that you see in the back. That's from the Dollar Tree, and that's the tissue paper they have for gift wrapping. And then I have two canvases, and this is from the Dollar Tree also, and these are their 8 by 10 inch ones. I think they're their biggest size. Those were the biggest size that I could find. It doesn't matter what size you choose. And I'm going to paint them all over with this ivory color acrylic paint that I got from Walmart. Now this was an unnecessary step. I only did it as a precaution in case the tissue paper ripped and if maybe it made the colors more vibrant, but it really didn't do anything, so it doesn't matter. So this was just an unnecessary step, but I do like the ivory color though. So now the Mod Podge. So after the paint dried, I added the Mod Podge and I painted that all over the canvas. And this is probably the step that you want to take first if you just want to skip the whole painting part. But I painted the Mod Podge all over the canvas. Before the Mod Podge could dry, I added the tissue paper. I'm going to go at an angle. I'm going to take one color and put it on one side at an angle and then flatten it out. And then I'm going to take another color and take that and put it at the opposite side at an angle. And I'm going to flatten that out as well. And I'm going to let this dry before cutting the extra off. And then after cutting the extra off, I then painted the sides with Mod Podge. And this is how it looks once it's all dried. Now I did the same process for the other canvas, but I used the polka dot pattern instead of the pink. And you do want to be gentle with putting this on. You might see some bubbles with the tissue paper, but that goes down once the Mod Podge completely dries. And this is how they look. Now the polka dot one, it's still a little wet, so you can see some bubbles, but if you see bubbles in yours, you can try to flatten it out some more, but once it dries, it completely goes down. Next, I got construction paper and I made a template. I wanted to make a crescent-shaped moon. I used my template to trace the vinyl paper. Because the Dollar Tree vinyl paper is so transparent, I had to double layer it. You can still see some of the flowers, so I had to triple layer it. And that came out a lot better. I did put a layer of Mod Podge on my crescent moon. Again, you may see some bubbling with the tissue paper, but it all went down once everything dried. Now for the other moon, I had to do the same steps. I had to double layer, triple layer, and I covered it with Mod Podge as well. I ended up deciding to add more to them. I wanted to add this gold paint around the edges of the moons. I let the paint dry once and then I painted it a second time. And this is how they came out. My children really loved them and I think they're really beautiful. For project number 2, I have a shadow box picture frame from the Dollar Tree, yarn from the Dollar Tree, pink and purple, and I have this plush pink paint from Walmart. Last thing are these pearls from the Dollar Tree. Okay, the frame. I was a little bummed about the frame because I didn't check the back when I first picked it up, and I didn't realize it doesn't have those lash hooks, those little hooks in the back that goes in the backs of the picture frames. Instead it has these little nails, so I had to use a sharp object to get the backing off. Once I got it open, I took off that little decorative piece and I removed the nails that were still on. Then I took the blush pink paint and I painted the frame. I also painted the backing, just in case any of the backing showed, at least the color would match the frame. The next step was the pearls. The pearls are going on the frame. To start, I hot glued a pearl on each corner of the frame. Now I wanted the pearls to go all around the frame and I wanted them spaced out. To get them spaced out as evenly as possible, I used 2 pearls to act as my rulers, so each pearl is a 2 pearl distance. For the yarn, I wanted to make tassels. I'm not a tassel expert. I'm really bad with tassel making, but I didn't let that stop me. I made 25 at least at first, but I ended up making about 4 or 5 more because I wanted them to fill the backing. I did more pink than purple because I'd be doing a pattern. I hot glued them on, and I have my hot glue gun on a low setting so I don't burn myself, and I went in a pattern of one line pink and the next line purple. Then I gave them a haircut. I cut them down really low so it can fit nicely back into the frame. I hot glued the frame back on, and I still wish the hooks were still there because it would have made it easier to put back on, but this is how it came out, and I think it came out really cute. Project number 3, I used 2 different unicorn pattern fabrics from the Dollar Tree. They were really pretty and cute, and I had to use them for something. I used cotton twine from the Dollar Tree, and I also used the pink and purple yarn again, and this white felt. Before starting anything, I needed measurements. I used 2 pieces of paper, I taped them together, and I made a tracing of the shape that I wanted. This will be my template, and I used this for measuring both fabrics. I want to take a sec to show off the bracelet that my daughter made. It has this cute little cookie and the colors really go with this video. I love it. So back to the project, I'm using this felt for the eyes. I want the eyes to look like button eyes. I'm also going to use the felt as kind of like a template for the nose and the belly. I'm going to be making a creature for this project. I'm not really sure if it's a hamster or if it's a bear. I kind of wanted hamster, but then it kind of looked like a bear, so I'm not really sure what to call it, so I'm going to call it the creature. I used one button eye to trace the other button eye. To cut the inner circles, I folded the circles in half and then I made a cut. I used the same felt for the nose. I wasn't sure how big and small I wanted the nose, so I did a few drawings side by side to help decide. Next, I wanted a tummy, so I used the felt to cut out a tummy shape. Now that I have my shapes, I've moved on to decorating the nose and the tummy. For the nose, I used the pink yarn. I'm going to hot glue that on. The glue gun is on a low setting so I don't burn myself because I did have to touch the hot glue just a little bit. This process was probably a little messy, but I wanted it to be wrapped up looking, I guess, like a mummy wrapped up, but on a nose. The purple yarn is going on the tummy part, and I made the tassels with it. I'm not a tassel maker, like I said before. I'm not an expert, but I tried and they came out okay. I glued the tassels onto the tummy, and I kept making tassels until the tummy was completely covered. After that was done, I hot glued my pieces. I only hot glued the tummy and the nose part. I did not hot glue the eyes. My button eyes, I wanted to stitch those on. In order to do that, I used the purple twine and large yarn needles that I got from Walmart. I had to split the twine in two so it could fit through the fabrics. You can see in the back I already have one of my button eyes stitched on. Now I'll show you a little bit on how I stitched this on. I'm not an expert sewer. I took a class back in high school. I think it was like 2004, and after high school that was it. Like I didn't take up sewing again until like maybe like a few years ago, but I'm not an expert at it, and this is what I did, and it worked for me. And after I was done stitching this on, I flipped it on the back and I just tied it. I think if you're like an expert sewer and you want to recreate this, you'll probably do a whole lot better than I did. But yeah, this is all this is what I did, and it worked. It worked for me. Now this is how it looks so far. The next thing I did was stitch a line going from the nose down, and I stitched a little mouth at the end. Like I said, I'm not a professional at sewing. I just do what works for me. And then I did tie it in the back once I was done. When it comes to closing this up, instead of hot gluing it, I wanted to blanket stitch it. Ugh. I wanted to blanket stitch it closed because I wanted this to look all stitched up. Ugh. Okay, so I folded the two fabrics inward, and that's when I started the sewing. And you can see, I'm going to try to show you a little bit of how I blanket stitched it. I went back to the tummy part just to trim down the yarn. I thought it was just a little bit too out there, so I wanted to give it a little bit of a haircut. Then I stuffed my pillow creature with some stuffing from an old pillow. For my next video, I was going to take you thrifting with me. I have some items that I need to find, and I'll fill you in on all that in the next video, so I hope you stick around for that. So to close this up, I folded the two fabrics inward and then I blanket stitched it closed. So for the ears, this is the last part. I took one of the fabrics, the fabric that I used for the front of my creature. I took that and I made a template, and I did trace the template to make 4 pieces on the fabric, and then I cut those out, and then I got the white felt and I made smaller pieces to that, and that's going to be going into the inner ear, so like the inner lobe of the ear, and then I stitched those on, and then once I did that, I took a backing and I stitched those 2 on, and I did the same thing where I had to split the yarn into 2, and then once I did that, I continued to stitch the ears together. I didn't put any stuffing into these ears, I just left them like that. Once I was done with that, I stitched the ears onto my creature, and I just stitched them on to the corners. And then I also made a little bow for my little creature, and I hot glued that little bow on to the other side of the ear, and then this is how my little creature came out. And that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you so much for watching. I hope you come back for the next videos. Have a great rest of your day, rest of your night. Bye!